Yo, what's up, everybody? It's Orange Bloods Live. I'm Jeff Ketchum. That is Chad Hastings. He's pointing at me. I'm talking, and we're going to be talking Texas football for the next hour. They're getting ready to get into practice. Is literally like, I can touch it. It's so close. We got players. Coaches will be interviewed tomorrow. Like, it's on. It's on. Football season is here. We've got a preseason game this week, although it's weird. There's a preseason game, and then the NFL just takes off for like a week and a half. But don't worry about that. It's here, and we're here. Hit that thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel, get notifications. We always appreciate that. Jump in to the Specs chat if you're watching this live and chat it up. Send us some super chats. We will get to those. But a big focus isn't so much on the weekend that was as much as, Chad, the weekend that is, or the week that is. You know, presumably by the time we do this show next Monday, the Longhorns will be in pads. And, like, it's on. Like, we are finally, let the Arch Manning era begin. We can finally start talking about preparations for the season in terms of weeks away from the first game. Like, I'm ready, and I'm really ready to see the competition on this roster. It's one of the things that I started to talk about with Anwar at the end of the Monday Overreaction show, which is there really are 40 or 50 players in the underbelly of this roster that are so talented that they're either going to take off or they're not going to take flight. And we are either watching these sliding doors moments where some guys step up and become stars, and some guys get passed up by the guys that are making moves to become stars. And when they've recruited as well as they have, and they've stacked the number one recruiting class on top of a top 3 recruiting class, on top of another top 5 recruiting class, and those guys are all now freshmen, redshirt freshmen, sophomores, but starting to accumulate a volume of talent that is significant. It really is, Chad, almost as much about that as it is the guys that we spend all summer talking about.
Well, and it ends up maybe being the same phrase. It could be labeled guys that need to take off, or maybe they need to take off. One of the, it ends up being kind of that same thing. And we're going to talk about some names. You threw a couple names.
That, Chad. That was clever.
Right? I mean, it kind of ends up being that. But there's a couple names you threw out in the Overreaction show that I definitely want to get into. And we invite people to jump in on the chat if there's guys you have questions about, guys you're thinking about. But this is really the moment. I guess Wednesday technically is that moment, Catch, because for fans of the Disney classic Aladdin, there's that moment where the genie first appears and says 10,000 years will give you such a crick in the neck. And then he's out of the bottle. That happens on Wednesday with Arch Manning and this team. So whatever this is going to be, how much you're going to let the media watch practice, how much you're going to let them in, how many images, are going to get out there. And for people like Sailor Joe, is the media drought over? When camp starts Wednesday, will we have media of our guys? Yeah, theoretically, Sailor Joe, you will. You'll see interviews with players and coaches like Ketch mentioned, and Sark will be talking about it. And there will be no turning back starting Wednesday when this thing, officially gets cranked up.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of as simple as that. You're going to have coordinators available tomorrow, and we don't get to hear from the coordinators very often. Like, Sark doesn't let his assistant coaches do interviews once the season begins. So yeah. I think that tomorrow, there literally will be shows when we go live tomorrow at noon. Oh my God, the football overflow of information that we'll be talking about is probably the most overwhelming is tomorrow morning. Kwiatkowski, Flood, and Banks, bang, bang, bang.
Yeah.
And, I don't know what's going to be asked. I don't know what they'll say. But there's going to be some real interesting conversation, I would imagine. And, it begins. And, like I said, the cool thing about that, we don't get those guys very often.
Yeah.
So no offense to the media guys that cover UT. Y'all don't screw around tomorrow. Well, I'll get them once.
Yeah.
Don't ask how their summer's been.
Yeah, I think the experienced guys understand that. Obviously, the folks that have been doing this a long time, like Anwar has, hopefully they understand it by now. You got to get in, get what you can get. And again, today we're going to talk about some of those battles that are going on, because catch names like Arch Manning and Colin Simmons and Anthony Hill. They're not walking in sweating out, man, I wonder if I have a gig. I wonder if I have a spot on this football team. But there's some really, I think, interesting names. You brought up one in the overreaction show, and then you also brought one up that's kind of close to my heart, a guy I've been thinking about. But why don't we start with Vasek? Because you brought Colton Vasek's name up, and I thought that's a great guy to think of as you head into these early practices. What's the kind of thing you want to hear? What's the kind of report and sourcing you want to hear about Vasek as we get started here? What does he need to do?
Practice, be available. Like, what do I want to hear? I want to hear that he's practicing without restriction, that his body is allowing him to do the thing that up until now, really, there are guys that sometimes come through the University of Texas, and the reason why they make it is not because they suck or because they couldn't stay out of trouble. Sometimes, man, the body doesn't hold up. And Brian Pickrell is one of the guys that is the poster child for that to me. Also a defensive end, 5-star guy out of Oklahoma in that Vince Young class back in 2002. Dude had like 5.5, 6.5 sacks as a true freshman. People forget that it's really good.
That is.
Those teams were so talented that they had guys doing stuff like that, and people were just like, 6.5 sacks. Yeah. And then his body didn't hold up. And that guy should have been one of the great ones, and it didn't happen. And I look at Colton Vasek, and when that guy's healthy, he makes plays. And think about how they wanted him to be available last year, but the body, the body just has to hold up for him. And the thing that he has to deal with now is that he's got a guy like Lance Jackson that's at his position, maybe even a guy like Justice Terry, because Terry hasn't quite grown in to the physical monster he needs to probably be to play exclusively inside. So we're just at a point now where whether Colton Vasek takes off or not, like Lance Jackson's here. And Lance Jackson might be better than Colton Vasek anyway. But Colton Vasek's really good. But if he's not careful, he's going to get past, and it's over. Then he's just the guy that's stuck behind Lance Jackson once Lance Jackson finds the on button. And I think those things exist everywhere all over campus. You start thinking about, well, who are some of the guys on that number one recruiting class that come in as true freshmen? And I don't know that we expect a ton of Cade Phillips this year as an example. Well, they're pretty deep at corner. They're feeling pretty good. They're not desperate for that guy to come in, but it would be really bad for everybody else if Cade Phillips took off. You'd suddenly be in a position where a guy like Kobe Black, right? Kobe Black may be ready to take off. When does he take off? Does anybody take off before him? These are the conversations that take place. And again, this team's really set at a lot of positions. But there are positions. I'm really interested about wide receiver. I feel like we kind of know who I feel like we know who are in the top group. It's DeAndre Moore. It's Ryan Wingo. I think Emmett Mosley is going to be there. And then there's this cluster of young players. And Parker Livingston's probably in that top 4.
I was going to say Livingstone's that next discussion of how much.
I didn't mean to leave him out. He's in that group.
Yeah.
But the pecking order of that group will be whatever it is. I think that will decide itself on game days. But then there's like a whole group of freshmen. And probably throw Aaron Butler in there. It's like, are any of you guys going to make a run? And if you don't, what does it mean? And if you do, like all of these things just have trickle down. We know that guys don't sit around and wait on campus. You look at that tight end position. Jordan Washington's a redshirt freshman. Nick Townsend's a true freshman. Emory Winston came in and actually impressed as a true freshman. We know that Jack Andrews is probably the starter. In fact, he's the starter. He's the guy. Mm-hmm. But we know Spencer Shannon and Will Randall are guys that are on the roster, third-year sophomores. If it's ever going to happen.
Yep. 2 names I wrote down today.
Has to happen now.
Absolutely.
Or we're literally this just becomes, well, where are the names going to come from next year in the portal? I think that one of the things that becomes really interesting that we've just never thought of in August is how many decisions in December are going to be made in August. The coaches are going to try to build, and we see that $20 super chat. We'll get to that in just a second, I promise. The coaches will look at this roster and know we want this thing set as best as possible the week before the Ohio State game. And we need to be getting ready. The season starts. The guys that aren't on that Ohio State 2 deep the week before that Ohio State game, they're like, oh, I didn't make the 2 deep. I lost a battle either to a younger player or I didn't win my battle against an older player and I'm still, my head's bumping up against the ceiling. We're going to know in August now, it's a good chance some dudes are gone. That's just the way it is in college football. We also know there will be guys, think about Jaden Blue 2 years ago where he didn't play all year long, but then we see Jonathan Brooks get hurt. And then we see that CJ Baxter didn't hold up. And eventually Jaden Blue had to play because he had to. And then, oh my God, this guy averages 6+ yards per carry. He's really important towards the end of that year. Blue probably transfers and doesn't play in Austin last year if an injury doesn't occur to open up playing time that otherwise was not going to occur because he lost a battle in August. So, yeah, when you consider the NIL money, when you consider the revenue share money, when you consider the roster decisions that get made and how they get made and when they get made and announced, and, Texas last year got into the playoffs, but had guys that had to make decisions about, do I go now? Because if I don't, I'm really doing a disservice to myself. So there's just the unavoidable truth is we just are going to know unofficially, we will know the next batch of names based on what happens in the next 30 days.
Yeah. And then obviously you do have the maybe good news of those decisions won't be made until December. And a lot of football will happen between now and then, which could change things too.
But what it will tell you is that something has to change. Exactly. That's the thing, right? There will be a group of guys in a month from now where
we'll know where they are. Yeah.
If things don't change, will be the sentence on their career at Texas.
Yeah.
And the goal for about 20 of these guys, that can't be me, man.
Yeah.
That's got to be my brother in the locker room right next to me. I cannot on August 31st be in the batch of guys that they say, if things don't change, ... And we know what that is.
All right. Speaking of 20, it is a $20 super chat from Michael to get us started. Thank you, Michael. Elephant in the room. Flood needs this O-line to be good. His recruiting has been meh. Aside from Gooseby development has been meh. Neto was borderline super blue chip, and he/Hudson are seniors who should be much better. It's time.
Okay. So, Michael, let me give you some good news and the bad news. Chad, it's a Monday. Nobody wants us to lead off with the bad news, right?
That's probably fair. Let's hit him with some Monday good news.
The good news is I think Flood, in the 4 years that he's been here, has outperformed his reputation. I did a deep dive on Kyle Flood, analyzing every offensive lineman he's ever recruited and ever developed, going all the way back to Rutgers, this entire century, everything he's done. And while he was at Rutgers and while he was at Alabama, he never turned anything other than a 4-star or higher into an NFL player. It's kind of crazy. Now, even at Rutgers, if you give him an Anthony Davis, he will turn that dude into a first-round draft pick like that. Kyle Flood specializes in that. He takes big-time guys and he makes them big-time. But I literally went through his entire collegiate career for 20 years. He'd never taken a 3-star or a 2-star, turned him into an NFL player. He's done that at Texas. Now, Trevor Goosby's going to be the best case of this because we're watching that in front of our very eyes. Although not everybody had him rated as a 3-star, but most people look at Trevor Goosby that way. But Cam Williams was a 3-star for some people. Wasn't for me and Alex. We had him rated much higher, but some people did. Some people had him as a 3-star. You think about a guy like Christian Jones. Christian Jones was tapped out in the minds of a lot of Texas fans, and he got a hold of him and turned Christian Jones into a guy that by the time he left, Texas fans, part of them didn't know whether or not they wanted to see Cam Williams because they thought he was going to be better, or is Christian Jones just good enough that we could live with that forever? And it was a little like a hard thought. It's like, he's finally good. Now he's leaving. And it's like, but maybe he could be better. And oh, by the way, he turned Kelvin Banks into the super stud that, like I said, that's Kyle Flood's specialty. That's the good news. The good news is, I got to be honest, Kyle Flood has developed better at Texas than he has anywhere else in his career. And there was nothing in his career to suggest that what he would do at Texas is the thing that he would do at Texas. Now, by the way, as far as good news goes, Chad, I don't know about you. That's fucking great good news.
Some good news, yeah.
Like, I gave you the good news first. It's pretty good. Here's the bad news. Michael's right. His recruiting's been kind of meh. I mean, 2023, 2024, 2025, 2026, last 4 recruiting classes. Brandon Baker, super blue chip, state of California. And then John Turntine this year. But outside of that, it has not been. Well, Texas isn't recruiting along the offensive line as well as it is in other positions. Not at quarterback, not at wide receiver, not at even defensive tackle suddenly, not at linebacker or corner or safety.
Yeah.
It's like a once every couple of years they get a big-time guy, but every year they need at least 5 to play.
Yeah, and that biggest of big dogs that fans talk about and that the recruiting services deal with, that hasn't seemed to been going their way, like you said, at other positions.
No, look, so let's line by line, let's go through this. Elephant in the room, Flood needs this offensive line to be good. Yes, it does.
Oh,
and you know what? The good news is Flood has delivered the goods by and large so far this although I would say, when I talk about this offensive line, Chad, holistically 30,000 feet up, it'll be fine. Like, it's not going to keep them from winning 9-10 games. The question is the offensive line going to be good enough that if they play Georgia or Ohio State in a national semifinal in that moment, because the Texas offensive line last year was good enough to be up for the Joe Moore Award, but it wasn't good enough to beat Ohio State with a championship on the line. It wasn't good enough to beat Georgia twice with a championship on the line. That's the question. That's the whole question about the team. And it's the thing that Texas fans have to get okay with us talking about this team about. The standard is not OU and A&M. The standard is once later this year, in less than 6 months, the second weekend of January, they're going to probably play somebody scary. And in that scary game, can Kyle Flood's offensive line do the job? Not not in, quite frankly, 10 or 11 of the games on the schedule.
Right. Plus you get a pretest with 2 of those scaries, and then one that could be pretty darn scary depending on what Florida looks like. But you're getting that early look.
But think about it. The early look last year was a little bit of fool's gold because they walk out of Ann Arbor and we think, well, that's the defending national champions.
Right.
That offensive line that day imposed their will in Ann Arbor. And that was a defense that legitimately had first-round guys on it. Like, that was not a bad Michigan defense.
True. But then it was also father time and a football season that just took over, where by the end of it,
I thought that was a group that imposed their will against A&M.
Right. But by the time we got to the key moment against Ohio State, both that line and the quarterback from Ann Arbor were different. They were banged up a little bit.
But this offensive line got exposed really in 3 games. Really. The 2 Georgia games and the Ohio State game.
Mm-hmm.
And those 3 games, because they all ended in L's, have convinced some Texas fans like the offensive line last year was crappy anyway. It's like, well, no, actually, that was about as good of a Texas offensive line as we've seen in half a generation. You got to go back decades to go back to the 2006 offensive line to go, yeah, that group, probably. And I don't think anybody walked away from last year feeling like it replaced the 2005 offensive line as the best of all time. That never happened. But it was really good in most of the games. It really was. It was not the reason Texas had issues last year. It was a reason why they had issues in 3 of those games. And it's the thing that, Chad, that I have a working theory. And Jim Harbaugh at Michigan, I think, disproves this theory. It shows that the answer can be yes. But one of the things I walked away from last year is in that Ohio State game, the season's on the line. And I know that Cam Williams was injured and wasn't at 100%. But that was the best Texas offensive line in 20 years. Texas fans don't want to hear it because they got their ass kicked in those games. But it was. And if the best offensive line that literally has the best offensive tackle that maybe Texas has ever had on it, and other NFL players on the line, if that group just is going to get its ass kicked when it plays Georgia and Ohio State, is it possible in college football in this era? And we're about to find out if Texas belongs in this group too, because they keep on recruiting super monsters. And they got dudes like Lance Jackson and Justice Terry. They're just not on the field yet. That's what they've done now. We've gotten to a point where most programs don't have those guys, period. And Texas has those guys, and it's like, well, what are you going to do with them this year? We'll see. Maybe they'll get on the field if they're good enough. And I just wonder, in the offensive line, in the modern era of college football, I know it's taking me a while to say it, can you have an offensive line that can match up with Ohio State and Georgia's defensive line? Is there ever anything that you can do that it's either out-talent, because that's the problem. They're out-talenting you.
Yeah. Now there is, and you also do have to mention each year that those defensive lines are changing. Ohio State and Georgia's defensive line are different.
Every year, the one consistent in almost the last decade, and Michigan is like the chain breaker in this discussion. But in a weird way, they did this very thing. Every year for the last decade, either Ohio State, Georgia, or Alabama, at the end of the year, has a defense. You can just set your watch to it. And Clemson was in this discussion too.
Yeah, they used to be that way too. You're right.
There was a 5-year gap where Clemson was in this discussion where it was just like, dude, one of these or 2 of these groups literally has a first-round draft pick at every position.
Yeah, no, it's like here they come again.
And I felt like I watched that Texas offensive line last year, and in the end, it was like, okay, well, one of the ends went in the first round, another end went in the second or the third round, and like those guys are really good. And then I just start thinking about You know what really did it in for me, Chad? The Eagles win the Super Bowl. But what's our running joke about the Eagles winning the Super Bowl when the draft runs around? It's like, well, they're just going to draft some big dude from Georgia. And it's like, every year, Georgia has some defensive lineman that's going to go play for the Eagles. Doesn't it feel that way?
Absolutely.
And it's like, because they never run out of those guys. They recruit. And look, we're looking at it with Texas right now. When we start talking about super blue chips on the defensive line, we're at a point now at Texas where you've got Colin Simmons and you have Colton Vasek and you do have Lance Jackson and you do have Justice Terry. And oh, by the way, you know, you probably should include a guy like Murad Watson in that. That guy on an open market would have cost a mint, and he probably did anyway. And, you know, you start to like run out of fingers on one hand, and that's what Georgia and Ohio State and Alabama at their best are able to do. You like, oh, I got to go over to this hand to count all of the badass defensive linemen. And it's just hard to do on the offensive line. And I think my fear for Texas, I think if you win a national championship, it's like, oh, well, the offensive line was good enough. You get to call something a championship something, even if they didn't really, like in the end, did Texas have a special offensive line in 2005? Or did they have an alien at quarterback? And those guys got to ride. Justin Blaylock, great college player. Good NFL player. Lyle Sinline, good NFL player. Casey Studdard, solid NFL player. Jonathan Scott, solid NFL player. Like, all good players, all NFL guys. But were they great? Or did whoever got to hitch their wagon to 10 had the luxury of scoreboard forever? And my concern is that having the offensive line that can that can win an individual battle against Georgia and Ohio State in a big game, maybe that's the Moby Dick of college football. Who can do that? Who is doing that? I'm not certain that anybody is. And it's just one of these things I keep thinking about as we go into this season. I think the offensive line is going to be fine. Yeah. But fine's not the bar. Fine, when they get to the middle of January and a big game is to be played, can they win that matchup then? And that's the thing I don't know. They weren't good enough a year ago in that matchup, and they haven't added talent. That's not what's happened. So I guess it's bad news. My bad news is my fear is that Texas will never, ever, 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 ever have an offensive line that is what they think they want and need. That last year's is about as good as it might get. Texas is going to have special skill guys. That's what they need.
Michael, thank you for the super chat starting us off. If you guys want to throw in a super chat, it'll go right to the top.
Dad, if Arch Manning throws for 40 touchdown passes this year and Texas wins a national championship, I don't need to see a single PFF grade. Do you know who they'll call the best offensive line in school history?
Texas.
2025.
Yep.
All it's the Vince Young rule. Everybody gets to be the best. I had somebody tell me, Chad, I ranked my top 10 linebackers all time at Texas. I had multiple people tell me that Robert Killebrew should have been on the list. What did Robert Killebrew do? He didn't play in the NFL. He wasn't all Big 12, but he was on that 2005 national championship team. And when you win a ring, everybody's immortalized. And I think when I look back on that 2005 offensive line, that's all that group had. They got to be the group that played with that guy. And if Arch Manning is that guy, that's how we'll remember this offensive line. It won't be anything that they do. It'll be everything that he does. That's how we find out if this offensive line is good enough. Arch makes them good enough. If he's not, They won't, and we'll be caught in this loop where every year it's like, oh, I don't know. We just need to say it right now. Dude, when they play Georgia later this year, Georgia's defensive line is going to kick this group's ass. That's going to happen. Is Arch going to be so good that it doesn't matter? That's what's going to take.
And on the other side, does Texas's defensive front kick some people's ass too? Because that's how you got to do it in college football.
Yes, they're going to. Yeah. And that is...
You got to have some of the battle, because catch the Vince Young offensive line discussion is meaningless if a defense doesn't make one stop. If they don't make that stop, nothing matters. None of this matters, right? Because that team doesn't win a national title if they don't make a stop. If some defensive guys don't make a play in one of the craziest games we've ever seen, like that's another part of it as well. You want to fight. You got to fight fire with fire when it comes to Georgia and Ohio State. You also have to have scary defenses that go hurt people.
Well, and look, Texas is maybe it's one more class. It's this class that adds Wesley and, James Johnson to the group. And because again, this time last week, we were talking about how Johnson is technically the highest rated Rivals defensive tackle commitment in the history of the Texas and recruiting in Rivals. That's a quarter century of data. It's kind of, I still can't believe it, but it is a fact as of right this second. And then you add Richard Wesley, to me, is the crown jewel in this class. And then you stack that on top of Lance Jackson. And some people were really high on Smith Orogbo last year and thought he was of that level. And we know that Justice Terry, and then, can either of a Josiah Sharma or a Myron Charles hit, because you've got Simmons with multiple years of eligibility remaining. And Vasek's only a sophomore. He hasn't stayed healthy. When we talk about sliding glass door moments in players' career, there's a world where Colton Vasek stays healthy, the light switch comes on, he's an All-American and leaves after the 2026 season. And then there's a world where he's not healthy and Lance Jackson passes him and Colton Vasek transfers after this season because he has 2 years of eligibility remaining and he can't waste it on the bench. And
wow, somehow we got our way back to Vasek. That was
fantastic. We did.
All right, we're discussing guys on this team that are going to be in some interesting battles. If you guys want to throw in on the chat, please do. Also, let's thank some of our great partners as we start the week, like Sinus and Snoring Specialists. Y'all hear me talk about them all the time, about what they can do for you. Get rid of your allergies for good. Get rid of your sinus issues for good. Maybe most importantly, get rid of your snoring and sleep apnea for good. You just need to be sleeping better, feeling better, resting better as you get older. I'm into my 50s now. And if you're there, or 60s or 70s, don't let this stuff get even worse. Get over to Sinus and Snoring and see what they can do for you. SinusSnoringENT.com. Great videos and info on what they do. And then give them a call or text them securely at 601-0303. Please tell them you heard about it on Orange Bloods Live and get it all taken care of. Feel clear, rested, and healthy with Sinus and Snoring Specialists, one of our great partners here at Orange Bloods Live. We did get there's some other good chats in here, Catch, but there's one guy I want you to talk about. We've talked a little defense. The guy that's been on my mind is...
Did you hear my reaction? Did you hear me go, oh, man?
Oh, man. No, I didn't.
You said something about being 50. And I had a visceral reaction. It just came out. I was like, I viscerally didn't want to hear you. I got the heebie-jeebies hearing you say that. One of my best friends in life turned 50 3 days ago. Mm-hmm. I have to call him, and I've dreaded the call.
Yeah, see, you're where I was a couple years ago, where people around me were turning 50, but I didn't, and I just thought I was in this little safe bubble of happiness, and it didn't even.
No, register. I know that's the thing. I'm not safe, and it scares the crap out of me.
And the closer you get to it as those birthdays are happening, it's like, oh yeah, it is coming. Yeah,
you just sounded old when you said that, and
hey, that's it.
I went to this water park on Friday.
Mm-hmm.
And at one point I turned to my kids and I was like, I'm the only old person in this water.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Where are all the parents?
You know who I am, Catch, at the water park? I'm the floating clock. I'm the only person at the water park that wears a wristwatch. So they ask me what time it is like 50 times a day. I'm the floating clock at the water park. Excuse me, sir.
I could not do a show with it. When we say we're the old guys at the Muppets, man, it's so on the nose that it's, quite frankly, we should never bring it up again.
Yeah, no, we'll just move on. Yeah, well, we will move on from that. But Catch, I want you to talk about Alex January, because when I think about this Texas defense and guys that I'm waiting to see what happens. January is really fascinating to me because his attitude and his story, Texas fans are hoping doesn't end like a certain Jonte Cook, but there'd be a thought that like, okay, here's Alex January's time to shine, and they bring in all these transfers. So for you, like, lay it out for me with the we know he's a stud. We know he was a stud at Duncanville. I watched it firsthand, him whipping my high school team. And then I was waiting for, okay, let's see when it happens. Do you think it's going to happen for Alex January, knowing that they just brought all those guys in around him?
I don't know. I don't. And I think, one of the things that Texas did this offseason that quite frankly is really, really smart, but it also would be a thing that is potentially really, really frustrating for a guy like Alex January, is that Texas didn't just bring in a bunch of one-year rentals like it did a year ago. All those guys got washed off the depth chart. So, if you were a position coach and, you were taught, and Alex January is one of your guys a year ago, you would say, hey, look, you're just a young guy. We're not expecting anything of you anyway. You're going to play. But, we got to beef up now. We got a championship we've got to compete with. And, when you're ready next year to get on the field, these dudes are all going to be gone, so don't worry about it. I hear you, coach. I'm good.
Mm-hmm.
This year rolls around. And look, if we take the transfers out of the equation, Alex January has literally no one in front of him at the defensive tackle position from a superiority standpoint. There's no seniors. There's no juniors. There's just him as a sophomore. And then you've got Melvin Hills, Myron Charles, Josiah Sharma, and Justice Terry behind him. They went back into the portal. They get Cole Brevard. They get Travis Shaw. They get Hero Canoe. They get Levon Johnson. They get Murad Watson. And then what's unique about that is that 3 of those guys, of those 5, have more than 1 season of eligibility remaining. So that speech that he would have heard a year ago about bringing the older guys in, not only did it get turned up on its head, but now the new guys that are here, dude, if I don't beat them out now, they could be ahead of me next year too. Mm-hmm. Who's this Murad Watson guy?
Yeah.
And so, and look, I think the thing is, Texas isn't 8-4 anymore. They're not 9-3. They are 11-1, trying to get to 12-0, then trying to get to 13. They're trying to play 16 games in a season.
Right. And he is at one of those positions too. There are certain positions where there's so much rotation involved. You don't have to make a 60-play impact to make an impact.
No, but you don't want to be the last dude in line either. True. And I do not know where Alex January fits into the pecking order.
Yeah.
But look, if Alex January's dad were listening to the show, I would say, I don't know where Travis Shaw fits into the pecking order, and I don't know where Hero Canoe fits. I don't know.
Right.
And look, that's going to be partly decided in the next 3 weeks. I don't know what Murad Watson. We're going to find out.
Yep.
When we get to August 10th, is Murad Watson running with the ones? Because the trickle-down impact of that is significant.
Yeah, that's one of those things I look forward to when you let the media eyes hit practice, start seeing those reports about who's getting the 1 reps and the 2 reps along the defensive front. That's just gonna be one of the first things I'm looking for.
A lot of times it's like, what order did they line up in line? Because we know they don't do the third team guys don't participate in drills in front of the first team guys. That's not how it works.
Right. Yeah, exactly. We know how the structure goes. All right. There were a couple other chats with some questions coming in. Real quick, though, I didn't see this. I hadn't seen this. Chris Bennett lets us know Deion Sanders announced that he's been treated. Wow, for bladder cancer. Says he is cancer-free. All the best going out to Deion. Man, he has dealt with some wild health stuff over the last few years and maybe decade plus. Going back to the issues he's had with his feet and toes and all that kind of stuff. So all the best to Deion. I had not heard that story until I saw that on the chat. Thank you, Chris Bennett.
It was a weird deal. It was very Magic Johnson, Lakers announcing he had HIV kind of a deal, right? It was like Deion Sanders is going to do a press conference and his doctors are going to be there.
Oh, geez. There's a setup.
They did that like 3 days ago.
Ooh.
So when it first came out, it was like, that can't be good, right? But then I started to think about it over the weekend. And I was like, if Deion Sanders calls a press conference 3 days early, and then when he shows up, his doctors are there, that's bad.
I would think, yeah. And that would I would have thought immediately of the foot and toe stuff that he's dealt with. That maybe there's more to it, you know?
If you told me 3 days in advance that he was going to be there, and that his doctors were going to be there, that's yelling fire in a crowded theater. It made me think, whatever the hell he's going to say, he overcame something. He had a scare. I honestly thought they were going to tell us he had a heart attack. But it was a minor heart attack, or he had you know what I mean? I thought it was going to be,
right.
We just talked about you and I turning 50. You know, it's like you start to get at that age where you're like, Jesus Christ, if I don't start watching my health better, I could have a heart attack, right? You start thinking about these things, and he's in such I thought that's what this was going to be, and that the doctors would tell us he's good, everything. I thought it was going to be like a recruiting pitch. Right. At the end, it does sound like it was like that a little bit, but it turns out he had bladder cancer.
Yeah, and apparently, and Chris Bennett saying he had his bladder removed. Wow. Okay.
There's some crazy quotes from this press conference.
Man.
He says, quote, "I've got 8 toes, man. I'm sitting up here talking to you with 8 toes. My legs are cut up like shark bites. I'm built for this."
Deion. Oh my God. There's one of him ever. Like one of one is Deion Sanders.
I still think my first Deion Sanders interview that I ever witnessed in person had to have been draft day. Now, I may have seen Deion before that, but on draft day, when the Lions passed him up and he got drafted by the Falcons, right, and they asked him about the Lions not drafting him, and he said that it's a good thing that they didn't draft him. They took a guy named Barry Sanders, by the way, because he would have cost them so much money that they would have had to put him on layaway, is maybe still, all these years later, the best draft day quote of all time.
Yeah, it's one of the greatest things ever said. And, of course, now kids would hear you say that and be like, what did he say?
Layaway?
The hell's layaway? What are you talking about? That's a whole
this thing where we used to be so poor back in the day where we wanted to buy you a toy. We spent like 6 months paying that son of a bitch off.
It took us forever. We'll get back into this Texas discussion. Big shout out to Texas Card House. You see the logo up there. They sponsor us every day at 12. They also are giving you an opportunity to come on into the Card House, mention Orange Bloods, and you'll get 1 month of free club membership and 2 hours of free poker play at any of the 6 locations. Also, across the great state of Texas, they've got online poker for you. Wherever you are in Texas, you just get online, you scan that code, put it on any device you want, and get to playing. Sign up, get a $20 bonus with hijackpoker.com. Get to playing today. Thanks to them for their great partnership with Orange Bloods All right. Let's see. What else did we have? Here's a name, Catch, that I saw earlier and thought of it, and then Douglas was thinking along the same line. What about Ryan Niblett? Feels like it's now or never for him. Where's the Ryan Niblett thing for you going into 2025?
It feels like never and never to me. Now, I do think there's a world out there. Look, Sark has gone out of his way. Here's the thing about Niblett. Sark talks about him like he cares.
Yep.
If Ryan Niblett stays or goes.
Completely agree.
He talks about Ryan Niblett like that guy I don't want leaving the program.
Yeah, he says his name when he doesn't have to.
All the time.
Yes. It's weird.
All the time.
And for the record, Catch, coming into 25, Niblett is a defensive player, correct?
No, he's back on offense. That's my point.
He's back on offense?
And by the way, he counted Niblett last year at SEC Media Days when he made that comment about, like, I think we've got, I don't even know what the number was, but he was like, I think
8 receivers or
Yeah. But he didn't play Niblett last year. Then inexplicably, they moved him over to defense in the spring to play a position that they're really deep at. Oh, yeah, it's a good thing you put him at nickel. How would they ever?
And that's where I thought there was no way he'd be on this team right now, Catch. I thought
okay, they're telling him, you need to freaking go to Sam Houston State.
Yeah, that's the ticket out right there.
But then before the spring ends, they move him back over to offense.
Receiver or running back?
He's like in that Keelan Robinson.
Okay. Third down.
Whatever. He's literally his own thing.
Okay. Gotcha.
And I think that's his upside. Like, I don't know, but look, Keelan Robinson got drafted and is in the NFL.
Yeah.
So if I'm saying I think his upside is Ryan Niblett, is Keelan Robinson, that doesn't sound insulting. It doesn't sound like a glamorous position, though, that you would wish for. I don't know. I don't know what to say about a guy that literally had no experience at receiver coming back either. So why, if you thought he could play receiver and help, would you move him to defense where it was so clearly obvious it was a huge uphill battle for him to ever make a dent on defense? They have so many guys at nickel in the slot. They've been moving those guys around to see if they can play. Oh, well, you know what? We kind of want to see what Jelani McDonald looks like in the nickel, so maybe we should put Jalen Gilbo on the outside. But if they wanted to, Gilbo could just go. You know what I mean? Like, they've got depth there. He wasn't going to get on the field. So I surely thought we would see Ryan Niblett in the portal in May. Had to be. He's the only player in the program they did that to, Chad. But they moved him back over to offense. And as soon as they did, they immediately, Sark started talking him up into the media about how we think Ryan Niblett's a real guy for us. He did it again at big SEC Media Day. Here's the thing. He can't do anything. He can't transfer right now.
No.
So Sark could just not say his name. There's no consequences. It's not this thing where Sark would be sitting home. By the way, Douglas, I'm giving you, this should have been a super chat because I'm giving the question way more time than it probably deserved.
I knew you'd have a thought.
But, well, because I'm dumbfounded. Yeah. Because show us, Ryan Niblett, show us. Because Sark keeps saying one thing, but everything I see with my eyeballs, and look, no one rated Ryan Niblett higher than I did in recruiting. I rated him as a super blue chip. And then Rivals hardly ever listens to me. That time they did. They ranked him as a super blue chip too. Nobody wants Ryan Niblett to hit more than I do. That was one of my guys. But it hasn't happened yet. But Sark keeps telling us that it's possible. So I don't know.
Yeah. I have no idea. By the way, Catch, trivia question. Can you tell me Ryan Niblett's current jersey number? I just had to look it up. I had to look this one up.
17?
That would have been my guess. Nope. He's 21 now.
Shit.
21, Ryan Niblett. Be on the lookout.
But look, there's talent there. The thing is, I would have thought last year was Ryan Niblett's now or never. And the fact that he got moved over to defense in the spring, if even for 5 minutes, is kind of proof that that it probably was a now or never moment. And now, you know, the worst thing it makes me think, Chad, these freshmen ain't ready. Because if they were, why would you bother? Like, they're more invested now in Jamie French and Dylan McCutcheon and Michael Terry and Khalil Lockett. Those guys are the new guys. There's no failure there.
Right.
Niblett's a 2-year failure at this point. He hasn't done enough. It's interesting that until those guys step up, we're going to keep hearing Ryan Niblett's name. And so I guess what it would tell us, he still has a chance. Those freshmen haven't come in. What do we know? What do we know about wide receiver? Parker Livingstone, DeAndre Moore, Ryan Wingo, Emmanuel Mosley.
Mm-hmm.
Those 4 guys feel set. I don't know that anybody else is absolutely locked into a rotation. Hell, then it's not like they really use 5 all the time anyway, so we might be talking about something that doesn't matter, but somebody's got to be the 5th.
So right now, Niblett's kind of an insurance policy on that second level of guys.
Well, I think if they feel like at any point they need to do to run a reverse and be Keelan Robinson,
it's him.
It's him, unless one of these guys steps up and becomes, hey, this guy's got to play 15 snaps a game. You know, the thing is, that's usually how you hit the field first. You become a guy that they have to find a way to get snaps for. And then if you take advantage of, well, we're playing about 10 snaps a game, and every time we do, he does something. You know what happens when that happens? You start playing 30 or 40 snaps a game instead of 10 or 15.
Right.
And so I think that's what these freshman receivers will have to do. There's no Ryan Wingo availability, I don't think. Wingo wasn't really ready, but was able to slide into that top 4, top 5 pretty easily. He boxed out Ryan Niblett when it was not Niblett, but our guy. Why am I having a brain malfunction?
Who are you thinking of? Cook?
No, him too, but the receiver that came in and scored the touchdown against Oklahoma is gone now.
Bolden?
Yes, thank you, Silas.
Yes.
Hey, that's going to happen with some of these transfers.
Yeah.
They're going to come in. And they just weren't here long enough for me to just remember their names forever.
Yeah.
But, you know, he was able to box out a guy like that. And we just haven't seen that yet. Like, I think we're going to go into August. I think the good news for all those freshmen is they'll have 2 weeks to prove it.
Yeah.
I
was going to say, let me ask you this. If they need a guy who can do like a Savion Red Wildcat quarterbacky kind of thing, is that Niblett? Could he do that? Because he's been a sort of running back, sort of receivers. I mean, like, could he handle that type of situation?
Well, if I was to say, man, who on this offense do they just need to make sure that they get the ball to 5 extra times a game? Who is that?
Wingo.
I mean, I don't know who the Wildcat is.
Right.
But whenever we've seen it and we've liked it, it's like, oh, Roshan. You know what I mean? It's like,
right.
We don't get to see that guy enough. And it's like, bring it in. And quite frankly, when we would see a guy like Swoops come in for the 18-wheeler package, it wasn't a whole lot of, like, you knew that Swoops could serve a positive purpose. But Tyrone Swoops was the perfect, that dude plays 15 plays a game, and I love him. He plays 60 plays in a game, and I want to kill myself.
Right.
And, you know, I think that I just think that if you're asking yourself, because I don't think Sark likes the Wildcat. But we know that he used Arch last year and a little bit of that to change. We know that he will go gimmick. I just don't think Niblett's the guy that he could. I think he's an option.
Yeah.
And I think the thing is they want to run power out of that as much as anything else, which is why we've seen them go big running back there. Like we didn't see them use Keelan Robinson like that. It wasn't like they used Keelan. Now, we saw them start Keelan Robinson in a bowl game, but we didn't see them, and we saw them for about 5 minutes try to feature Keelan Robinson in a bowl game, but we didn't see him ever get used in that capacity. So I don't think – it doesn't sound right to me. It sounds like if it's not – let me ask you this. If it's not Ryan Wingo, who's next on the – if there's a way we can get that guy 5 extra touches a game, how do we do it?
Arch?
Maybe, but I don't want that to be the answer because I don't want Arch.
Fair.
I don't want you to – the answer to this can't be we gave the ball to Arch 90 more times in the ground game. Because I'm counting 16 games.
Right. Hell, if he's – is it Mosley?
It's a rhetorical question, Chad. Well, I don't have an answer.
Yeah.
That is the thing, though, that they've got to find out. Do they have – I think it's one of the problems with the offense right now. Because I can ask you that question, and it feels like last year, Blue's name would have popped up.
Right.
Golden's name would have popped up. Wingo's name would have popped up. Ball, you know what I mean? Felt like there were more guys that we were like, Jesus Christ, you got to get the ball to them.
Yeah. And hey, once you see it, it might turn into an embarrassment of riches where you go, well, it could be Livingstone.
But that's what I'm saying. We have not, the question's not answered yet. I asked you that question knowing, because I'd already worked it out in my head. There's no right answer. You know who I eventually settled on? Michael Terry.
Michael Terry. Okay. Yeah.
But and Michael Terry was a guy that Sark made a point of mentioning.
Yeah.
At SEC Media Days.
Yeah.
Where
I like Lockett as a possibility, maybe depending.
Again, I'm thinking Wildcat. So it's more about, you know what I mean? Like part of the reason why I don't think Niblett, they want to run power there. But I don't think there's a running back that I'm itching. It's like, oh yeah, name any running back on the roster. And that them in that role does not excite me.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
In fact, I might like Arch more.
Yeah, right. That's why it was the first thing that popped in my head. Tracy, I see your $5 super chat. We will definitely get to that. Let's thank another one of our great partners, and let's see if we can make you thirsty with Hayes City Store. Not only the great food, but all kinds of great beverages out in Driftwood. If you haven't been out there in a while, or you just haven't been out there at all, get on out there. That Jack Frost, that's a Jack and Coke, frozen Jack and Coke. You can do frozen flights out there. The Kentucky frozen coffee. Oh my Lord. Anytime Hayes City Store starts messing around with dark liquors and like a dessert feel, order it. Order it. You're going to love it. Here's your QR code if you want to click in that way. Hayes City Store out in Driftwood. You have 4 weekends left before football season starts. Why not spend one of them out there or maybe it's 2 of them out at Hayes City Store. Get your reservation in early because you'll need it, because a lot of folks head out there. Get on out to Hayes City Store. Tell them you heard about it here on Orange Bloods Live. Great food, great drink. It is a great time out there each and every time. All right. We did have, there it is. Okay. A $5 super chat with a hotter than at the end. Thank you, Tracy. What is more probable in 2025? 2 900-yard rushers or 2 900-yard receivers? And prime on prime hotter than Pam Grier, hotter than Halle Berry. Wow. I think I know where everybody's going on that one. Catch 2 900.
Let's start with the Pam Grier. I'm a Halle Berry guy, but Pam Grier in her prime can go toe-to-toe with anybody. So I just want to say I'm selecting Halle Berry here, but I am paying homage to Pam Grier just as much as I'm selecting Halle Berry.
Yeah, Pam is incredible. And Tracy, Pam is so incredible. I could make an argument for both sides of your discussion.
Absolutely.
I could absolutely make that discussion right now. In fact, we were just talking about how old we were earlier. That part of me wants to say Pam Grier. So I might buy it. I think I may buy it.
I think Hallie may be prettier than Pam. And Pam might be hotter than Hallie.
Right. Yeah, that's what I'll do. I'll go with sexy, hot, just everything about Pam Grier is pretty badass.
And I tell you all the time that hotter is not about prettiness.
Exactly. No, it's two different things.
It's about like physical. You know what? We can Tracy, I don't think I've ever sold Halle Berry. Yes. And I'm not going to now either.
Oh, darn. Okay. I will. Tracy. I'll buy it. I'll buy it, and I'll take Pam Grier. Catch two 900-yard runners or receivers for Texas. What's more likely?
Receivers.
I totally agree. Man, if you get right now, if you could sign up for two 900-yard backs, what would that do to the 25 season for Texas? Holy smokes. That is a tough team to deal with.
I would rather take just let me know that I've got two 900-yard receivers right now. It just makes me feel better about the season. If you tell me they have two 900-yard rushers, they can have two 900-yard rushers through 16 games. Each of those dudes could average like 4.5 yards per carry. Like, I don't know about how I feel about that.
You're right. Okay. That's
fair.
You
tell me that Texas has two 900-yard receivers, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, well, I know the quarterback position hit at least some minimum levels that are going to excite me, because that doesn't happen every year. In fact, we're way more likely and used to seeing one guy hit that number, and then you're looking around for the rest of the team begging for – it wasn't that long ago when that was 2022 and Xavier Worthy was out there by himself catching passes, and they were rotating starting receivers in every other week. Started the very next year, you get Xavier with Adonai. And then the very next year, you get Isaiah Bond last year, when healthy, coupled with Matthew Golden. And now we wonder, they've lived a good life for a couple of years. I'd feel a lot better about, I think this team is going to go as far as I think this team is going to go, if you tell me they've got two 900-yard receivers, because it will mean that they've had something close to what they've been able to get the last couple of years. And they've gotten to the semifinals the last couple of years. In fact, they didn't have two 900-yard receivers a year ago because Bond couldn't stay healthy. So what you're telling me is he's got some combination of what Quinn had with Xavier and Adonai Mitchell, and I'll definitely take some of that. Yeah.
Yeah. Tracy, it's an interesting choice. And of course, Texas fans, the answer is both. You want both. You want all of that. Two 900-yard rushers, because then one gets to 1,000 and keeps Sark's string going.
But he didn't ask a question for a both. He asked what's more probable.
I know. I'm just saying, to be obviously a hell of a season.
Tracy would have felt like his $5 got wasted if he turned around and just said,
"Yeah,
Tracy, both."
Yeah, definitely the receivers. A little more of that feel right now.
Sorry, Chad, that was rude.
Real quick, Sark After Dark with a 51,000 subscribers and counting. Sark After Dark. Thank y'all for liking, subscribing, getting your notifications, and the subscriber number has gone. In fact, here's what y'all did, and I'm so happy to say that you did it. Y'all finally did something to those subscriber numbers. Catch noticed. That's what you finally did. Congratulations.
I kept sleep there for a while.
I've been waiting for it. I've been waiting for that moment, because I would react and Catch would be like, I was like, did you see it? But Catch was the one that let us all know, hey, guys, we're over 50,000, and now it's over 51. So thank you, Sark After Dark, for pointing it out, and thank you all for being a part of it. We were talking receivers anyway, Catch. How about a receiver comment from Blake?
I'm sorry.
What's going on?
Oh, Mrs. Ketchum did that thing where she barged in. She needed something.
Oh, okay.
She needed my car keys.
Okay.
And I tossed them to her.
She dropped
and they
them.
landed in a box.
Oh, no.
So then she had to because I got this box in front of the door so the dogs won't barge in.
Oh,
landed in the box. Got a bunch of shirts in it. So then she had to bend over, and she was like digging through the box, not able to find the keys. And I'm trying to do the show, and like she was trying not to interrupt me the whole time.
Yeah.
You know, because like she feels bad because she does barge in. The one time she really does try to do it quietly as to not disturb the show. And I tossed her keys that landed in a box, and then she went digging.
You basically turned her into Drake Kirkpatrick on his commitment day, a box in a bag and a bag in a box, and the keys fell down. And
So she's over there just trying to be quiet and not just, and I'm just like, I've amused myself, and she was my muse. And she didn't even realize it. So, thankfully she didn't, because otherwise she could just have called me a bastard and she treated me awful for the rest of the day. But she didn't realize that I was having it. I kind of threw the key into the. I just knew she's not catching this key.
Wow. Shout out to Catch's muse, and hopefully she has a better rest of her day than she just had digging through that box. Blake says, my two biggest questions are, is DeAndre Moore ready to be wide receiver 1? And will our special teams be solid? We can't have another season with kicking struggle.
I think Sark would tell you yes. I think Sark would tell you the wrong Texas receiver was listed on the all SEC football teams. And it's no disrespect to Ryan Wingo, but I think he's shocked that DeAndre Moore isn't respected that way. I
think they're going to do, pardon the sort of pun here, but I think they're going to do more with more. Wingo is going to be a hell of a weapon. I think they're going to do more things with DeAndre Moore.
I mean, I think there's a real sense that DeAndre Moore is the volume receiver in this offense. So if someone's catching 100 passes this year, it'll be DeAndre Moore. If someone catches 15 touchdowns, it might be Ryan Wingo. But agreed. I think that how we think of what the wide receiver 1 position is may vary based on what we think is the thing that identifies that guy. But if receptions is it, then I think it'll be DeAndre Moore. If it's who's the guy that if there are going to be 5 touches in a game, you want that guy to get 5, it might be Wingo. That, we may see Wingo average 4 catches a game at 20 yards a catch, and we may see Moore average 6 catches a game at 13 yards a catch. And from week to week, how we define who ended up being the number 1 guy may come down to the context of each game that takes place. One day, one guy, early in the season last year, we did this with Bond and Golden, where think about the Michigan game. Golden caught the touchdown passes, and so there was a little bit of like trade-off that was taking place until the injury occurred, and then towards the end of the season, it was just the Matthew Golden show. But there really did feel like from week to week, and I think we saw this with Xavier Worthy and Adonai Mitchell, that on any given Saturday, one guy might be quiet and the other guy might go big, but there will be some days when both guys are big. Think about that Alabama game. It's like, well, who was the MVP at receiver? Yes, was the answer to that question. And
all the above.
And there will be days when that happens. And so, again, boy, DeAndre Moore is one of those 900-yard receivers. If that stat comes true, they really need him to come on strong. Let me tell you right now, if you're a Texas fan, you want DeAndre Moore going pro after this season.
Oh, totally agree. Yeah, completely agree.
If he doesn't, it kind of makes me wonder if this season's a success.
It's an interesting way to judge it, but I get what you're saying.
Because they do need somebody to be a frontline 12, 13, 14, 1,500-yard receiver over 16 games.
Yeah, and that's probably not Mosley, right? Not to that level.
I don't know. I mean, I can't say that I've seen enough of him.
I think it's one of those 2 guys for me. One of those 2 guys becomes that volume dude you're talking about.
Real quickly, I wrote about this in my column. I thought about this weekend, and it kind of got ignored. So we haven't even talked about it until the 59 or the 69-minute mark of the show.
Mm-hmm.
I still don't think Texas fans appreciate the acquisition of Jack Injuries, Emmanuel Mosley, and Murad Watson. The way those went down. Look, unofficially, my opinion, Texas tampered the shit out of all 3 of those kids. There's no way those kids could have their decisions made essentially on the day they announced without something.
You're so cynical. Catch, they love Texas.
And I love it because it's the thing that I've been like, yo, if Texas really wants to utilize the full power of the Death Star, part of this is this. And it got lost. There was only one program in late April that really cleaned up. And when they cleaned up, they literally didn't have guys. They took the best guys that they wanted, and those guys never took another trip. They never looked around. They literally were committed to Texas before all of the other recruits that went into the portal could take official visits. It was masterful. And of all the things that Texas has done in this offseason, nothing has made me want to come out of my seat and go, well done, Texas, behind the scenes. Because I don't think that was Sarkisian. That really is the sign of they've got a personnel department behind the scenes working overtime. And somebody was given an assignment of find me a receiver. This is the type of profile this guy has to have. Do it at tight end. Do it at defensive tackle. I don't want to hear a damn thing except when the portal opens up, it's done, and we got our guys. And they did that. And we can't do a show like the one we're doing today where Jack Injuries isn't. If Jack Injuries and Emmanuel Mosley aren't on the roster right now, oof. Everything about the way I feel like we're talking about this team feels a little bit different.
Especially injuries.
Everything I just said about those freshman wide receivers.
Right. At least I feel like there's a little bit more to cover things if they didn't have Mosley. But, boy, if they didn't have injuries.
Well, you just asked me, if they have a guy that catches 100 passes for you, it's either DeAndre Moore or it's Mosley. And it's like, okay, well, that's what made me even think of that because if you take him out, you only have one other option in terms of the volume we think. Now, maybe we're wrong. Maybe Wingo turns into a higher volume guy than we think.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's we've not watched Steve Sarkisian have an offense that I think he likes, really. Like, he just hasn't been good enough at quarterback.
Now, that would be a wild question to ask him at a press conference. I wonder how he'd answer that one. Have you had an offense you liked yet?
And I think he would give us a coach's answer.
I do too.
But I don't think he has a quarterback season that he would point to and want to brag about to anybody. And I don't think he went to Dia Bell and said, "Did you see what we did with Quinn last year?"
Yeah. I do wonder if you qualified
Did you see what we did?
If you qualified it, Catch, by saying love, have you ever had an offense that you love at Texas? I wonder, would he coach speak that one or would he say?
But if we did a truth serum Sark,
yeah,
I think you would say, "Have you seen my quarterback play? Every year I've been here, I've had some.
It hadn't been good enough.
It has not been good enough." That is as simple as true Serum Sark would need to be. How can you love an offense if your quarterback position is not good enough? When we talk about those Alabama offenses, we know his ass loved them. Right. Well, what did he have at those? He had a lot of things at those, but he definitely had a quarterback play.
Yeah, and he's not going to accept. He being who he isn't going to accept it if there's not good to great quarterback play.
We're going into year 5, and he does not have a resume guy from Texas yet.
Right.
If he were to leave Texas tomorrow and the new school's putting out a press release of his successful quarterbacks, does Quinn make the list?
Oh, geez.
Because his quarterback list has got so many first-round draft picks on it. Between the USC, hell, even at Jake Locker at Washington.
Right. Well, didn't Mac Jones even get picked in the first?
Yes.
Like from Bama? Because his numbers were stupid good at Bama.
So I'm saying, I don't. He's got enough guys that if you're doing the new press release, you might just say, I have to put that one in there. Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. He's 7th round. Because if he doesn't make the team, you don't include him.
Yeah. By the way, good report so far on Quinn Ewers. Looking good with the Dolphins. And you brought it up in your 10 thoughts. I totally agree with you. And I'm glad you pointed out he's going to be on NFL Network in like a week or so.
13 days.
A noon, one of those noon NFL, preseason kickoff times. And Quinn Ewers is going to get, who knows, right? Is he in the second quarter? Does he start the third quarter? Like, how are they going to do? But we'll get to see it.
Mark your calendars right now. 13 days, 22 hours, 45 minutes.
There it is. Quinn
now
Ewers.
That's when the game starts.
Yes.
Noon, 2 Sundays from now, 13 days away, right? But you probably don't need to show up till about 1:30.
I was going to say, he won't start, but he'll get a look. He will definitely get a look.
If you show up around 1, because I wouldn't want you to watch the first. Chad and I are probably going to watch the first half of that game.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I love that. This time of year, I'm looking for some first half NFL preseason games just to whet the appetite.
We're going to hate watch the shit out of that. But when we get there, we will be popcorn pop ready to go.
Yes, we will be ready to roll. All right. Thank y'all for jumping in the chat today. We got buy or sell coming up, a little more Texas talk. Before we get there, let's thank another one of our great partners, AV Consultations. We're 33 days away from kick as we are sitting here. They can get you all set up. Get it going.
Now, stepping up to the plate is a household name, weighing in at roughly 115 pounds with a wingspan of 98 inches. It's Samsung.
Kid, I know it's baseball season, but this isn't what I meant when I said to incorporate sports into the company commercial.
Sorry, old man. I just want everyone to know that audiovisual consultations can make your home feel like a stadium.
That's true. Audiovisual provides stadium surround sound, huge screen video, controlled lighting, and even temperature control. On our roster, every customer is an MVP.
Sounds like audiovisual knows how to score a home run with our customers.
All right, kid, that's enough with the baseball puns.
But I'm trying to tell everyone that audiovisual is a real catch. You'll love our services.
Kid?
There's nothing coming out of left field when you give us a call. We won't break your balls.
Kid, we only have a minute.
Pitch, please. I don't need your attitude right now.
Rest assured, listeners, audiovisual is much better at installing and designing custom home theaters than we are at making jokes.
Just check our stats. Give us a call at 512-255-8678 or visit us online at avconsultations.com.
avconsultations.com. Make sure you tell them you heard about it on Orange Bloods Live. All right, Catch. I do not see any suit. Wait a minute. Hold on.
Please. I love that, man. I love her.
She's fantastic. Oh, here we go. I knew there was one I'd miss. Void. It's the Void super chatting us with $2. What game on the schedule feels like a must win?
Florida. They got to win one of the 3 big road games. Any of those 3, and there's no other must.
That's probably fair. Of the biggest games, it's definitely a must win. But also, I mean, there's a lot of them.
10-2 is going to get them in.
Yeah,
there's a lot. They're Ohio State of last year if they get in at 10-2. Ain't nobody wanting a piece of Texas at that point. So,
but I can also, but that's a good one to mention of the biggest of them. But void everything other than Ohio State and Georgia, really.
I mean, they can't go 9-3. So
right. So you picked the right one. I think it's what's the winnable of those 3 road games? What's the one that feels the most winnable? If you just take everything else out, it's probably the Swamp.
Just out of all due respect to Georgia and Ohio State.
Right, because you know what kind of monsters those are. So void, it's all of it, but all those games in September, obviously must wins. You got to beat Kentucky on the road, even though they're coming off a bye and you're coming off Oklahoma and Florida. Doesn't matter. That's a must. And Mississippi State, and you got to beat A&M and Arkansas.
Musts when the season starts, because this sport gives a program like Texas a couple of mulligans. It is what the sport didn't do 5 years ago. But now you get a couple of do-overs. Ask Ohio State.
Yeah.
And so before the season starts, there are no must wins. Don't lose 3 is the mantra for me. And if it's win an SEC title or whatever, then it's don't lose more than one. But you don't go into the show with the season with must-wins void. You get into the season and they develop.
Yeah, Dave's getting all the confidence ready. Ohio State is his must-win. Hey, there you go. It's the next game on the schedule, right? Mac Brown says you're supposed to win all of them, right? They expect you to win every single one. Benjamin, 1999 super chat. Thank you, Benjamin. Seems like me, the SEC is looking to expand again. North Carolina seems to be the target, with 20 teams being the magic number. What have you guys heard? Other SEC shows are talking about this. Oh, Jesus.
Benjamin, I would just say on Orange Bloods, which is not the end-all be-all, but like, I just, I don't really want to talk about it. It's like, it doesn't move. Nothing sounds more boring than talking about North Carolina coming to the SEC. If I'm being completely honest, but it is conversation that's taking place. I was just going to say I'm on Orange Bloods and nobody's talking about it. And it is an incredibly active discussion. Like, it's being talked about a little bit, but I don't know. Like, you know what I would say to SE shows that are talking about this? Find some better topics. Although maybe it moves the needle. I don't know. It sounds very dry to me. Like, we know that. I think the answers are obvious, Benjamin. We're talking about a Clemson, you're talking about a Florida State, we have reached the point where the perfect candidates are all gone. Everybody's flawed to a little bit to expand. I love North Carolina, personally. So North Carolina makes a ton of sense. I love the idea of adding North Carolina basketball to your league. Honestly, I'd be okay with taking Duke. What this program, what the SEC doesn't need, honestly? Another badass football program. Like, they'll probably get a couple of those if they're expanding to 20. Don't they need to add somebody who's a W?
That might not be a bad idea. And
by the way, their basketball program becomes your number one basketball program.
Yeah. And again, Benjamin, the thing I would tell everybody having this discussion is please find the break and press it. We've had one real season of college football, and it wasn't even real. It was seeded wrong. It was set up incorrectly. This coming season, it's set up a little more correctly. So can we please just take a breath with 16 in the SEC and 18 in the Big Ten? Like, that's crazy.
I'm just saying, look, Benjamin, I hadn't heard anything that you haven't heard. The discussion's the discussion. We know what teams or programs want to get the hell out of the ACC. And we know the remaining programs that aren't already in the Big Ten or the SEC, we know the scouting report on all of them. We do. And, I think before this North Carolina chatter, there's always been a lot of chatter around Florida State and Clemson.
Yep.
Those two schools are literally saber rattling at every chance.
Yeah. Those are easy ones to talk about.
In fact, it's almost funny that we're talking about North Carolina in this position, given that it's been pretty quiet on the North Carolina front. And Clemson and Florida State have been so vocal about trying to get out. And it feels like North Carolina, it's the quiet ones that you got to be careful with. And maybe North Carolina is that quiet, careful one.
Benjamin, how about Florida State, Clemson, North Carolina, Miami? How about that? That'll get you to 20.
Man, I'd rather just add Duke. I'd rather have the Duke basketball program in the SEC than any of those schools' football programs.
That would just be so bizarre. Duke playing SEC basketball. That would be so weird.
But I don't want North Carolina. You know what I mean? Like, part of what I want Duke, North Carolina. I want that.
Well, that needs to be in the same conference no matter what.
So if you're taking – look, we're getting up to 20. There's going to be some schools that get left. I don't ever want Duke to be completely left out. Let's get them in. Let's get them a seat at the table. Look, I miss Kansas basketball. Don't you miss Kansas basketball? Like, it's just fun to have Kansas on the schedule.
To a degree, I absolutely do. Especially for the Texas fan base that sometimes, being in that sport, the opponent matters.
If you could get Kentucky and Kansas you know what I mean? Like there's just I like super blue chips. So take all of the revenue and almost revenue sports that exist. If there's a super blue chip program amongst all that's left, I want the super blue chips.
Now,
so North Carolina and Duke basketball are super blue chip programs. Come on.
Nobody else is going to agree with Mike and me on this one, but Mike has an idea, Catch, and I want it just for irony's sake. Please, somebody put SMU in the SEC. Please. Somewhere down the line.
That ain't happening. There will be a third NFL team playing in San Antonio before SMU gets an invite to the SEC.
Oh, that's funny. That is funny. Mike, thank you for that smile.
That is funny, though.
I appreciate that. Let's give a shout out to Specs. Almost 700 of you in the Specs chat. Here's a little bit of Lisa playing some beer pong and other things for you to get stocked up, and then we'll buy or sell.
Yeah, we got it.
Texans know for selection and lower prices, it all starts at Specs. Shop Specs! With all your favorites on tap, you'll bring home the win. Boots on, drinks up. The fun starts here. Shop Specs!
Okay, so yeah, we got to go. All right, Catch. You first or second?
I'll go second.
All righty. Let's start here to that schedule you were discussing. Buy or sell number 1. Texas wins in Columbus and Gainesville.
Buy.
Oh, all right. It's got a hell of a start for your season there, Texas fans. That would make a hell of a week getting ready for Dallas. That would be an undefeated team going to play Oklahoma. All right, Catch. Buy or sell number 2. You saw Happy Gilmore 2 and you liked it.
Sell. I haven't seen it yet. And I haven't watched look, this month has not been friendly to me from a TV and movie watching standpoint. Mm-hmm. Although I did go see the Fantastic Four this weekend.
Okay.
Last night, as a matter of fact. But I have not. It's on the to-do list.
Gotcha. Catch, buy or sell number 3. You referenced it earlier. The Hall of Fame game in the NFL is Thursday night. You can tell me who's playing.
Buy. It's the Lions and the Chargers.
Very good. How about that coaching matchup? Can we get an extended press conference before the game with Dan Campbell and Jim Harbaugh just talking about anything? That'd be fantastic.
For some reason, I looked that up because I thought I had convinced myself that a lot of Longhorns are drafted this year.
Uh-huh.
And I convinced myself that a Longhorn had been drafted by both the Chargers and the Lions. So I was like, but I couldn't remember who it was.
Yeah.
So that I went and looked, and neither school drafted a Longhorn this year. And the only
neither.
Longhorn playing in the game is Cameron Dicker.
Oh, well, there you go. That's enough to tune in, right?
So I literally inspected that. I was like, oh, okay, well, who can I watch? And then it was like,
that's a nobody. Okay, fair enough. All right, Catch, buy or sell number 4. You have started listening to Ozzy for your top 10 list.
It's a buy. It's a baby buy. I've started with the Sabbath. I won't tell you what my plan is for the Ozzy list, but I've been around my wife and kids a lot in the last few days.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't force it on them, but this week the house is going to rock a little bit, and I'm just going to have to get used to it.
That's excellent. Okay, so you answered just 2 questions I had for you. You are including the Sabbath time. That's really going to take – that really does make it a tough top 10 list to put together. And are you going in order? You're going to just like finish Sabbath and you're going into the solo career and you go through the whole catalog, or do you kind of randomly go through it?
My process is typically start in the beginning and work my way through in chronological order.
Boy, that's a wild ride when you're talking about Ozzy. Okay,
now
good luck.
Look, the volume is such that sometimes the project can only get as completed as the project can get completed. Mm-hmm. I told you the story about the week where I listened to almost 50 different Reba McEntire albums.
Yes.
Her entire discography in a single week, which I'm convinced that no other human being on the planet has ever done that.
No, Reba ain't even done that.
Because after I did it, I realized what it required to do that. And I just, unless someone lost a fantasy football league and it was like, instead of getting a tattoo of something like Reba on your arm, you had to prove you had listened to every album in a week to, trust me, it was a difficult task.
That's crazy.
Like you just never stop listening at some point. But I will get to a point. Every artist is a little different. I haven't right now, just listening to early stuff.
Gotcha.
One of the things I will sometimes do is I know this is going to let me look right now. I know there's been a bunch of Ozzy lists in the last.
Oh, I'm sure, right? Yeah, last couple of days.
Like if I do best songs ranked, I literally am doing this live, so I don't know. It's Rolling Stone released a 20 essential songs, didn't rank them. Louder did the 50 best of all time. Billboard the 20 best of all time. What I would probably pick is the Rolling Stone 20 essential songs.
Right.
And then I'll make
all.
sure that when one of those songs plays, I make sure I give, you know what I mean? Because sometimes you can listen to an album and you're vibing to what you're vibing to. And I don't know that I need to make special mention of like, oh, Paranoid. I need to, when Paranoid comes on,
right.
I need to make, that's a song I need to know whether or not it ends up on the list or not. If it doesn't end up on the list, someone that might ask me about Paranoid, I need to have listened intently to Paranoid. I will at some point make sure I miss nothing.
Yeah.
Now,
okay.
Will I be able to digest all of the songs? No. He's got too much. I can already tell you I'm not going to be able to pull that off. But I will organically listen to as much as I can. At some point, I will have to make a call where then it's like, I only got 5 more albums or the 5 solo. You know what I mean? It comes into it. But I have a process, and by the end of it, I'll be able to put together a list that I feel confident is representative, that I can put my name on it.
There you go. Good luck on that.
I won't do it. If I get to like Friday and it's not happening, I'll kick it to next. I am not afraid to not do it if I don't think I can do it well.
Yeah. As an Ozzy fan, I would tell you the first 6 solo albums are certainly crucial. Once you get to that 7th one and beyond, once you get to Osmosis and beyond, you don't need to go crazy into the focus after that.
It's a good thing to know getting started.
I'm just telling you, those first 6 or 7, I firmly endorse, and there's great stuff there. And you got to get through No More Tears and maybe Osmosis, but after that, you're going to have a couple
Can I tell you what I will do? That my plan is to do a 10 best Sabbath, a 10 best Ozzy solo, and then a combined top 10.
Well,
so my plan is to do 3 different top 10 lists.
Damn.
And I'm just letting everybody know in advance, it will be very hard for any song to replace Iron Man in the number 1 spot. It is, and always has been, my entire life, my favorite Ozzy Osbourne song.
Interesting.
And it has everything to do with professional wrestling.
We will see. We will see where it ends up at the end. I think you're going to enjoy it. I think you'll enjoy the trip through Ozzy stuff. There's a lot of great material you're going to.
I'm just telling you right now.
I can't wait to see it.
Can Iron Man be dethroned? I don't know. I have my entire life. Wasn't it the Road Warriors?
I believe that is correct.
Like I grew up not knowing that was Ozzy, just knowing that was a dope wrestling entrance.
I cannot wait to hear your answer to that question. Can anything surpass Iron Man? For me, that answer is pretty clear, but we'll see where it ends up for you. Finally,
real quick, this also this just as an example of my dedication, especially to any wrestling that I could watch on WTBS. There are still Elton John songs that were the theme songs for like Starcades that are my favorite Elton John songs because Starcade would use them while they promoted Dusty and Rick. Like, you like what you like. And usually it's something from your childhood that defines it. I'm just telling you. I don't know that objectively Iron Man is the best song that Ozzy ever did. I'm telling you that in my heart of hearts, it is my Ozzy go-to.
I would love to tell you that Elton John would love the fact that you said that, but I can't tell you that. I don't think Elton John would love the fact that that's why it's one of your favorite songs. But he'd probably say, hey, as long as you like it, I don't care why you like it.
Yeah, it's part of my childhood.
Yeah, it's fair. All right, Catch. How about
I'm Still Standing more because when Hendrix was 3, that was his favorite song. It's just the same kind of personal.
Yeah. Hey, tell Hendrix he ain't wrong. I'm 50 damn years old and I'm Still Standing is still my favorite Elton John song ever.
Yeah.
Ever. So, hey, I get where he's coming from. All right, Catch, let's hit two.
Yeah. Okay, sorry.
Let's go 2 hotties 10 years apart today. Lori Loughlin is 61 and Elizabeth Berkley is 51. Prime on prime. Loughlin's hotter.
So
he's going with Jesse.
Easily.
Right.
Look, man. I was never a Jesse guy on The Belle.
Right.
She is out of this world sexy in Showgirls.
I know that movie
is batshit crazy. But she is.
It's kind of why it's great.
But she is crazy hot in that movie.
Nomi Malone plays.
It's Berkeley. It's Berkeley.
Yeah. If you don't want to go to Vegas after you see Nomi Malone, we cannot make you go to Vegas. All right, Catch, that's what I got. What you got?
Buy or sell number 1. You have watched the new Happy Gilmore movie and you give it a thumbs up and you tell me I do need to watch it.
Yeah. Hang on 1 second. I'm getting.
Why are you confused? Why does it look like you only saw 30 minutes of Happy Gilmore?
No. Just seeing some super chats here. Yeah, I'm gonna buy that. I saw it. I liked it. I would tell you to watch it. It's a unique kind of movie because when you make a sequel way too far after, there's a weird little thing. Here's what I'll tell you. I thought it was definitely better than Anchorman 2. Definitely better than Dumb and Dumber 2. Neither of those bars is very high. I also thought it was better than the Coming to America sequel. So, yes, I would tell you to watch. And there's enough nostalgia and enough, hey, look who's in this movie, that I think you'll enjoy it. I don't know if it's one you watch over and over again, but I definitely think you should check it out. Yes.
Buy or sell number 2. You really didn't watch any sports this weekend?
I really didn't watch any sports this weekend. Yeah, overall it's a buy because the girls and I watched some movies, both in and out of the house. I watched yesterday while talking to somebody, I watched a little bit of the Ocho stuff, but that doesn't count. Watched some pro wrestling, but that doesn't count. So yeah, bye. I didn't really watch a lot of sports this weekend.
I watched the soccer, but that was about it. Buy or sell number 3. You're all in more for Quinn Ewers' first preseason game than you are the Cowboys' first preseason game.
It's probably a buy.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, it's a buy. And that's not even like a jokey insult to the Cowboys. It's just like, I kind of know what the beginning of the Cowboys preseason is going to be like. Like, are there really battles that I care about that are going to turn the season one way? No. But the Quinn thing does interest me. I'm one of those that didn't think he needed to be all the way to the 7th round. I hope he proves people wrong. I want him to make that roster and go get that backup job. I think it'd be a cool story if he could start the year backing up Tua, because we all know what that means. Backing up Tua, I mean, any NFL quarterback, you're one play away, but the Tua with his history, like, you got to be on full alert if you're that guy. I hope it's Quinn.
Buy or sell number 4. when it's all said and done, for all of the empty rhetoric, Jerry will give Micah Parsons more money than any player has ever been given on the defensive side of the ball. It'll be a monster contract, and he will never play in an NFC championship game with the Cowboys.
Yeah, the only detail of that I guess I could sell on would be, does he go all the way up to like past TJ Watt? But I feel like he will. I feel like it'll be a buy, and eventually it'll be a record. And yes, all those things that you just said will be true, and it will be a buy. What was the latest weird insult, Jerry? Oh, I know. Did you see Jerry showed up at training camp and said they yelled louder last year for him to pay Lamb than they're yelling this year for him to pay Micah? And I thought, oh, there's a great comment to make. Can you please stop insulting your defensive star? Yeah, it's great. But yes, he will. Eventually it'll happen. It might be right up to that first, game or whatever, but he'll do it.
That's scary. It sounds like our politics now. Like, what happened? Somebody yelled at me at the airport. Like, that didn't happen before, so that must mean the country wants it. Like, oh. Yeah. Is that how we're ruling these days? And finally, buy or sell, number 5. Kind of taking a wild stab in the dark here, but you did say that you and your girls got out to see a movie this weekend. You also saw the Fantastic Four this weekend, and like me, before you saw the movie, you couldn't tell me anything about the Fantastic Four. It's a very specific question.
That is a really specific question. No, I mean, that's a sell. I would have known enough about it because I watched the other iterations. I don't mean
like you knew Rex Richards' name. I meant like,
I don't mean about how this movie played out is what you're saying.
Well, I didn't know like how they got their powers or anything like that. I knew there was a rock-looking dude. Right. I know that Rex Richards stretched.
It's a sell. Dude, I even sat through the Miles Teller one that I actually didn't think was as bad as some people did.
So I knew enough. I was wondering because I didn't see that either.
I knew enough about the story. I watched that iteration. I watched the Jessica Alba iteration of it. So yes, I had the basic knowledge going into the four. I saw Fantastic Four Saturday morning,
and
I liked it. It. I thought it's a challenge that, again, nobody's really been able to pull it off. I liked the way they laid it out. I don't know if it's a great movie, but right now the bar for a good superhero movie has kind of been moved, and they just needed to do a good, solid job, and I thought they did it. I thought the acting was really good. What I learned was that who you cast as Reed Richards and who you cast as Sue Storm really matters. Like, it really matters. And in those other two versions, they didn't quite get it. But I thought these two did a really good job. I felt it between the two of them, and they mattered to me. So it really helped the movie along. I would tell people to go see it. I would certainly tell them to go see it in the theater and go have a good time. I thought it was good.
I agree completely. I'll say the one thing that stood out to me during the movie, Pedro Pascal's like a real star. Like I don't think he's the best thing in that movie. I don't know that he's the most memorable superhero character. You know what I mean? Like there's like more charismatic performances, but that movie needed Pedro Pascal in it. And about midway through it, you're like, oh, he's just the anchor to this. Like,
right.
And then midway through it, I was like, oh, well, yeah, he did do this, and he did do this, and he did do this, and he was great. You start thinking like, yeah, he was one of my favorite things about Game of Thrones. And now in this movie, it's like, holy crap, the Fantastic Four is going to work. And it's going to be him as Rex Richards that pulled it off. And I don't know that I would have guessed that. And kudos to Pedro Pascal. I don't know that he had that. I didn't have that on my bingo card that I would walk out in 2025 feeling like he was a legit movie star, but I kind of did last night.
Yeah, you freaked some of the nerds out. Reed Richards is his name, not Rex Richards. I think Rex Richards might have been a movie critic when we were kids. Or that was Rex Reed.
It was the guy with like the handlebar mustache, wasn't it?
No, that was that was the guy on the Today Show. That was what was that cat's name? Rex Reed was different. We had Siskel and Ebert, and then we had God, what was his name? I can't think. I can see him. It was this huge mustache.
Yeah.
He looked like the Lorax. What was his name? I can't think of his name. Somebody put it in the chat before we get done. What was that cat say? He would talk to Bryant Gumbel and Jane Pauley every single day. You're going to look it up.
If I type in movie critic with crazy
movie critic
mustache.
What's his name? Damn it. You're going to say it and make me feel so much better. Morley Safer was on 60 Minutes. That's not who it is. What's his name? What is his name?
My computer's not working at a rate that's making me happy, and I may have just killed restream.
Come on, there's got to be some old person. Gene Shalit. That's his name.
Oh, man, if you'd given me a week, I wouldn't have guessed. I kind of felt like I knew his name was Gene, but I could not remember his last name.
Woo! Gene Shalit. You know what? And I beat him. I got it just before the chat figured it out. Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Ford.
What a great mustache that guy had, though.
One of the greatest of all time. And the hair, too. He had like the white guy fro hair combined with the mustache. So it was like Black Bart on the bottom and it was like Horshack on the top. It was fantastic. Love that guy. Love Gene Shalit.
Okay, now we need to go. We need to go.
Now we can be done. Thank you all for liking, subscribing, getting your notifications. Thank you for getting those subscriber numbers up over 51,000 now, maybe even more. Maybe it's 52 while we're talking. But thank you guys for that. We do appreciate you. Let me make sure. Oh, good grief. Catch is a $50 super chat. I just realized. Hang on. Wait, hold on. What is this? What is going on? Sorry. $50 super chat from Jack. Cancer cause hyperglycemic blood, hence the blood clots, perhaps. Jacko is a physician, though I no longer practice. What? Somebody put a $50 super chat.
This is about Deion.
Oh, it's about Deion. Okay. So it's a Deion situation. Crazy.
Right, Jack, I would refund you if I could.
Hang on. So that's the SEC when we got that. Michelle snuck this one in. Gavin Holmes signed as an undrafted free agent with the Lions. Oh, there you go, Catch. Gavin Holmes.
Oh, well, there you go.
Thank you. And Jack, thank you for the medical super chat. All right. Thank y'all for jumping in. We'll be back tomorrow at noon with
now I can't wait till Thursday.
Now, right, because now Gavin Holmes and Dicker
and Cameron Dicker. What are we talking about now?
Cameron Dicker, Gavin Holmes. Don't you dare present us with a good
that at your own peril.
That's right. Yeah, you just try to miss that game. You just try. All right, we'll be back tomorrow with the podcast. Catch will be back on Wednesday, and practice starts this week. Practice. We'll be talking about actual practice coming up on Wednesday when we hit you. Keep it on Orange Bloods Live. Go to orangebloods.com. Click on that QR code in the upper left and get signed up with Orange Bloods immediately, if for no other reason. Go read the stuff that Anwar had about Arch and Michael Taff and their relationship. It's,
by the way, the Lions waved Gavin Holmes.
Awesome stuff. Damn it. We almost had him watching that game. So close.
I have felt like at this point, if I didn't mention that on June 2nd, he got waived, then people would turn in to watch Gavin Holmes.
Yeah.
And then we get blamed for somebody on Friday would be pissed at us.
It's a damn shame. All right. You'll have to tune in for Amon-Ra, St. Brown, or Jared Goff now. Damn it.
I'm just saying, JS.
That is a shame. All right. Y'all have a good rest of your Monday. Check out Orange Bloods Live for all the content. Check out the video section, short section, all that. We thank you guys for jumping in. And until next time, we are Orange Bloods Live. Y'all take care.